In the heart of the Zervan Empire, the Galactic King lounged atop his obsidian throne. Gazing across 100 systems, he ruled with indifference. The empires of the galaxy bowed to him not out of loyalty, but survival. He was not born royal. He carved his empire out with fleets and fire. Billions feared his gaze. Yet even he feared the Deathworlders, the unpredictable species known as humans. So he mocked them instead. Earth was loud, primitive, bold, and disturbingly resilient. For all their unpredictability, they rarely left their planet. Their colonies were scattered, self-contained, and focused more on survival than conquest. That made them tolerable. The few who entered the wider galaxy wore armor, walked in pairs, and carried tools that looked like weapons, or weapons that looked like tools. He'd ordered their study. He'd ordered some watched. But he'd never considered humans dangerous without numbers. Then came a message from his vizier. An insult. Earth had refused a trade accord. A minor one. But they'd done so publicly and with the sort of arrogance only Deathworlders could afford. His response was not crafted for diplomacy. It was crafted for humiliation. He ordered the abduction of 3 human females, each from different corners of their colonies. Not diplomats, not soldiers, civilians, symbols. He would parade them before his court, let the humans protest, scream, threaten. He would ignore them, and by doing so, he would show the galaxy who held true power. His agents acted quickly. The first woman was taken from a medical outpost on Veltrax 3. She fought 3 guards before she was sedated. The second vanished from an agricultural colony near the Lesson Rift. Her trail ended in a bloodstained and broken drone. The third was taken from a research lab orbiting Titan's third moon. Her captors needed reconstruction surgery after their encounter. But all 3 were taken. They were kept in stasis aboard a royal cruiser, delivered to the capital as trophies. The king greeted them himself. He expected sobbing. He expected fear. What he got was silence. Glaring silence. The kind that made predators second-guess their kill. Zaltherin ordered them prepared for display. He did not recognize the insignia etched subtly into their clothing. He did not know one wore the locket of a Titan Enforcenite. Another bore the bloodline mark of a Martian war clan. The third carried no ornament. Only a faint subdermal pulse beacon encoded with 20 layers of encryption. The message he sent to Earth was short. It showed the 3 women standing silently before his throne. No bruises, no damage, but unmistakably restrained. His message was smug. Perhaps now your kind will learn obedience. He underestimated what humanity would notice. No names were mentioned, but someone did notice. Captain Dorian Voss was mid-repair on an atmospheric shield when he saw the transmission. His jaw clenched. He recognized her stance. Feet planted wide, left thumb twitching slightly. She was ready to fight. That was Alira, his wife. Taken. He didn't shout. He didn't panic. He walked silently into his personal armory, behind 3 biometric locks. He opened a vault sealed since the War of Sundering. Inside sat a ship AI core, one he wasn't supposed to have, and an ancient war harness designed for vacuum drop combat. The AI flickered awake and recognized him immediately. Mission parameters? It asked. Retrieval, Dorian said. Priority, absolute. Across the galaxy, on a mining outpost deep within the Rigel debris fields, Enforcenite Linares stood over a negotiation table, blood still dry on his gauntlet. When he saw the message, he froze. Then he leaned in closer. His wife was third from the left, barefoot, standing like a blade, waiting to be drawn. He touched the mark on his shoulder, a twin to the one on hers. He walked out without a word. His dropship lifted before his second-in-command could speak. His first stop was a black market data vault orbiting a dead star. He broke inside, hacked 3 secure channels, and began tracing signal footprints from a message. The third husband, Kale Wren, sat alone in a biotech lab above Io. A man with no official records, no registered family, no formal military rank. But he was known, or rather, whispered about. The kind of human who made machines smarter than most species. He saw the broadcast, paused the frame, enhanced the lighting, isolated the heartbeat pattern behind the audio. That was Ari, his wife, his partner in research. She was sending a time, pulse, and a frequency just above standard galactic broadcast. A signal only someone who knew her would notice. It said, "Still alive. Don't rush. Break them properly." Kale stood. He didn't call anyone. Instead, he activated 3 sleeper AI cells built into galactic communications relays. Each was a virus encoded to hide inside traffic and relay coordinates. Within 6 minutes, he'd mapped the star pattern behind the throne room where the message had been filmed. He sent a single message on an encrypted human-only channel. 3 targets acquired. Not random. Synchronized retrieval. Dorian received it mid-flight and changed course. Linares received it while welding explosives into the casing of a diplomatic courier. The 3 men did not speak directly, but they shared the same focus. Zaltherin had taken what he believed were civilian trophies. He had in fact stolen the most dangerous element in the galaxy, the wives of apex predators from Deathworld Earth. The Empire began noticing anomalies. Fuel depots going offline, drone repair stations malfunctioning, signals disrupted, minor at first, easily dismissed, then entire scout fleets vanished in uncharted space. The ships were found later, empty, systems wiped, hulls marked with the Deathworlder glyph. "We are coming." Kale manipulated hyperspace relays to misdirect patrols. Linares leaked false orders through hacked royal protocols, rerouting fleets to barren sectors. Dorian activated a stealth battleship hidden since the colonial wars and destroyed an Imperial freighter carrying diplomatic dignitaries. Zaltherin remained oblivious. His attention was fixed on a summit. He ordered the 3 human women presented again, this time before foreign diplomats. Still silent, still upright, still dangerous. One alien delegate, a feline Senker noble, looked at them and recoiled. "They are not prey," he said. "Why do they look like they're hunting you?" The king laughed. "Because they don't yet understand who rules here." A week later, an orbital station orbiting Genvar, 5 exploded. The explosion traced back to a single misplaced maintenance bot. One Linares had programmed to act exactly 30 seconds before the shift change. Kale caused a communications blackout across 7 systems by introducing a recursive loop into the translation matrix. It caused every AI in the region to interpret commands as hostile queries. Dorian sent a warning to the king's general. "Return what was stolen, or we will take what you love." The general scoffed. 2 days later, his family estate was glassed from orbit. By the time security forces arrived, the sky was raining ash. No survivors. No records of the ship that did it. Only the same glyph carved into a molten obelisk. Still coming. Inside the palace, the 3 women began speaking to each other in their native tongue. The guards didn't understand. The translators didn't recognize the dialect. Intentionally shifted. It was a wartime code. Kale monitored the palace defenses in real time through hijacked satellite loops. The virus he'd embedded weeks ago had finally matured, feeding him visual data, system architecture, even heartbeat readings of the palace staff. It wasn't enough to attack. It was just enough to pick it apart. He traced the electrical flow of force fields to an underground auxiliary generator buried beneath 10 meters of reinforced alloy. Most would miss it. Kale already had the schematic loaded, and the failover triggers mapped. Linares walked through the gates of the Imperial capital, wearing the armor of a fallen Royal Guard captain. His infiltration had begun before the women were even moved to the inner palace. He replaced a man during a remote escort mission, stole his identity, used Kale's credentials to reprogram the security scanners. He moved with confidence. No one questioned him. Those who didn't ask twice. Dorian Voss didn't come through the front. He came from orbit, silent and invisible, aboard the stealth vessel Grave Dancer. The ship had no registry, no crew but him, and a hull covered in absorption plates designed to mimic stellar dust. It parked above the capital undetected. He launched a series of probes toward the outer defense rings, for exploded immediately. The 5th reached the inner field and slipped through a blind spot Kale had engineered. The Empire still hadn't pieced it together. They saw isolated attacks, technical malfunctions, but no pattern, no declaration. No formal act of war. That was the point. These weren't attacks. They were dismantlings. Every strike was precise. No wasted motion. No survivors unless left deliberately. Kale infected the palace air filtration with micro-emitters designed to collect DNA samples. Within hours, he had full genetic maps of the palace staff, guards, and commanders. He used this data to create profile disruptors, small implants that trick security scanners into misidentifying intruders as clear personnel. Linares received one of these implants via a courier drone that dropped on his cloak during a routine patrol. He installed it in his spine without anesthesia. Dorian bypassed the planetary defense grid using a forgotten backdoor in the Royal AI system. He had discovered it during the Martian blockade years ago. Everyone thought that AI had been decommissioned. It hadn't. It had been left to rot, and Dorian had quietly nurtured it back to function. It obeyed him now. Inside the palace, the three women continued to move in silence. They were placed in separate chambers under constant surveillance, but they had already established a new signal code, eye movement combinations based on tempo, not direction. They communicated in fragments, passing information with the guards none the wiser. Kale detonated a satellite relay above Sector 9. At the precise moment, Linares accessed the royal elevator system. The resulting signal loss forced a full data reroute, and in that moment of system recalibration, Linares rewrote his location signature to show him on leave in another district. Dorian landed undetected in the sewers beneath the capital and moved upward through maintenance shafts, bypassing motion sensors using temperature-control panels crafted from scavenged hull metal. He climbed silently toward the lower palace storage wings. Kale flooded the guard barracks with false orders redirecting troops to phantom breaches across the city. The palace thinned. Patrols grew irregular. Elite units were dispatched to non-existent emergencies. He left just enough authentic data in the system to ensure suspicion remained low but consistent. Linares entered the high command chamber and replaced the war schedule with a decoy plan leading fleet deployments away from the core systems. He then removed the security footage of his presence entirely, embedding a loop of the original officer standing in his place. Dorian reached the inner vaults and retrieved a set of neural disruptors originally banned by the Galactic Council. They were relics, hidden under lock and code. He activated them, calibrated for Zaltheran's specific neurological pattern. The devices would not kill him, not instantly. They would burn every neural node with increasing intensity until nothing remained but silent agony. The first breach came without warning. Kale shut down the outer communication grid across 3 planetary sectors simultaneously. Traders, ships, stations, cut off in seconds. The palace security AI triggered lockdown protocols. Linares used this moment to enter the command bridge, slit the throat of the lieutenant in charge, and transmit a false status report back to command. Internal purge successful, no hostile elements detected. Kale rerouted all royal communications through his filters. Every word, every order, every whisper now passed through human hands. He manipulated sensor feedback to make it appear as though rebel ships were forming a blockade just beyond scanner range. Panic began to spread. Zaltheran was informed of rising discontent, but dismissed it. Let them rise. They will fall harder. Kale increased pressure. He corrupted the internal timekeeping systems. Alarms rang early. Meals were late. Sleep schedules collapsed. Guards grew irritable. The court staff reported hallucinations. Power fluctuations grew more frequent. It was subtle madness. The royal AI tried to isolate the source. It failed. Kale had hidden his presence behind a recursive loop that always returned a false positive. No anomaly detected. Linares watched as officers turned on each other over false accusations. He ensured blame was assigned strategically, sparking removals that crippled internal cohesion. Dorian slipped into the central data vault and embedded a virus that, when triggered, would permanently disable all navigation systems across the royal fleet. Every warship, every drone, every scout, blinded. The second breach came when a power conduit exploded in the throne chamber. Zaltheran was unharmed, but 3 of his guards were incinerated. The system reported sabotage. An investigation was launched. Linares submitted the final report. Probable human involvement. Unknown actors. Threat level. Critical. The king finally reacted. He ordered the women moved deeper into the vaults. He assigned new guards. None knew that Kale had already mapped the entire vault system and installed remote listening nodes on every junction. As the women were moved, the second began coughing blood. The guards panicked, triggered quarantine protocols. It was a bluff. She had crushed a capsule in her mouth that simulated internal hemorrhaging. It activated bioscanners and reset her containment zone. In the shuffle, she acquired a keycard. Kale intercepted the access logs and updated the master clearance file to accept the stolen card without flagging it. Linares received a signal. Phase 3 go. Dorian activated the stealth drone that followed the transport route of the woman, moved to Subvault 7. He directed it to deploy a miscompound engineered by Kale, harmless to humans, but corrosive to synthetic sensors. The resulting confusion allowed her to disable her bindings and disappear between two maintenance corridors. The second woman followed shortly. She feigned seizure during interrogation, and when the guards attempted to restrain her, she broke one's jaw and took his weapon. The gun was biolocked, but Kale had already overwritten the firmware remotely. Zaltherin stood alone in the throne chamber. The walls flickered under unstable energy. The pillars cracked where foundation conduits had ruptured. The guard stationed outside were either dead or had fled. The throne no longer responded to his commands. For the first time in his reign, he could not summon anyone. The Empire's most powerful chamber had become a silent tomb. Above him, atmospheric alarms shrieked. The orbital defense grid had gone blind. He tried issuing commands through his neural link. It responded with silence. The interface was still functional, but every protocol had been stripped of his authority. He no longer ruled the system. He was no longer even recognized by it. Dorian entered the outer corridor, carrying a high-density rail weapon with depleted uranium cores. He walked with calculated efficiency. Behind him, Kale's final override shut down all remaining AI systems. The palace defaulted to emergency backups, too primitive to resist manual override. Hallways dimmed. Elevators stalled. Defense turrets spun aimlessly. The women advanced faster than the soldiers. Every step they took brought down decades of royal power. They moved with coordinated precision. They didn't need to speak. They already understood what had to be done. None of them were there for negotiation. They were not prisoners reclaiming freedom. They were executioners delivering sentence. Linares breached the inner perimeter and engaged the last of the king's elite. They fought with desperation, trained for defense against insurgents, not Deathworld shock troopers. Linares moved through them like a storm. Each blow final, every movement optimized. Armor cracked, blades shattered. Their tactics were obsolete against the techniques he brought from Titan's military enclaves. Kale activated the Palace Core's entropy protocol, a fail-safe design for absolute isolation, now reconfigured to accelerate structural collapse. The palace began to eat itself. Internal magnetic stabilizers reversed polarity, degrading alloy integrity. The roof fractured above the throne. Zaltherin backed away as Dorian advanced. His voice broke as he demanded recognition, demanded authority, demanded answers. Dorian said nothing. He reached into his belt and withdrew a small disc, the neural disruptor built specifically for the king's physiology. He placed it on the floor between them, activated it, and stepped back. The device hummed softly, then pulsed. Zaltherin collapsed, screaming, but did not die. His nervous system lit up in fragments, then overload. It was not meant to kill quickly. That would have been mercy. It was designed for prolonged disintegration. Each nerve collapsing after its neighbor, leaving the mind aware but unable to act. He begged. The words meant nothing. The three women entered behind Dorian. Their faces were unreadable. The king looked at them as if seeing them for the first time. He reached toward them. One crushed his hand beneath her boot. Another removed his crown and snapped it in half. The third leaned down and whispered into his ear. The words were not recorded. His face went pale. Linares stepped forward and handed each woman a weapon. Kale spoke over the comms. System purge in 5 minutes. Dorian nodded. The countdown had already started. The king tried to crawl. He got one arm beneath him before the second woman fired. The shot took his shoulder. He screamed louder. The first woman fired next, destroying his knee. The third pressed a weapon directly against his chest and paused. He looked up at her, tears streaking his face. She pulled the trigger without blinking. The body hit the floor with a hollow thud. The king of the Zervan Empire died without ceremony, without trial, without legacy. His death was not the end. It was the trigger. Kale's final protocol went active. Across the capital, control hubs collapsed. Weapons turned offline. AI cores rebooted and failed. Fleets lost guidance and returned to base with corrupted commands. The galactic net lit up with confusion. Messages contradicted each other. Orders reversed themselves. In minutes, the empire that had ruled 100 systems could no longer hold a single one. The grave dancer reappeared above the palace and transmitted a single message across open channels. Your king stole from Deathworlders. This is what remains. In the outer colonies, rebel factions surged forward. With no coordinated defense, resistance forces swept across former imperial strongholds. Kale released data packets showing the Empire's internal corruption, slave routes, and secret prisons. Public outrage became action. Linares boarded a captured Imperial frigate and transmitted a warning to all remaining loyalist systems. Submit or burn. This is your only message. No one replied. Dorian returned to Earth with Illyra. They said nothing during the journey. There was nothing left to say. They had burned an empire to retrieve one person. It had been worth it. Kale vanished. His name removed from all networks. His labs dismantled. His location unknown. But across the galaxy, Imperial systems continued to degrade at precise intervals, as if something had been left behind in the code. A final reminder. Linares did not go home. He joined the new coalition formed in the Empire's ashes. His mission was clear. No king would rise again. Not while Deathworlders still breathed. The three women did not give interviews. They did not publish memoirs. They returned to their lives as if nothing had happened. But those who saw them moved aside. Even the bravest soldiers did not meet their eyes. They had been taken, and they had helped break an empire. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. They drafted declarations, condemned actions, proposed sanctions. None passed. No species wanted to provoke Earth. The silence that followed was not peace. It was deterrence. Trade routes were redrawn. Alliances shifted. Human influence expanded without a shot fired. No one dared challenge them, not because of fleet size or technological superiority, but because they had watched three men destroy a ruler without formal war, because they saw three civilians carry vengeance into the heart of power and reduce it to ruins. The phrase spread across systems, first in whispers, then in warnings. Never touch what belongs to a Deathworlder. On the ruins of the Imperial Palace, a new monument stood. No statues, no names, just one sentence etched in every major galactic language. We don't start wars, but we end them. Fleet academies revised their training. Officers studied human tactics. Entire civilizations rewrote protocol for human interaction. Peace was maintained, not through diplomacy, but memory. The Zervan Empire was never rebuilt. The systems it once ruled fractured into independent zones. Some turned inward, others joined new coalitions. But all of them remembered. The king's remaining bloodline vanished. Loyalists were hunted down or exiled. Those who resisted disappeared without trace. No one knew if the humans were behind it. No one asked. Kale's viruses remained dormant in thousands of networks. The kill switches never activated. They didn't need to. Their presence was enough. Dorian returned to command. His colony grew. When foreign ambassadors visited, they were polite, excessively so. One asked what would happen if someone took from Earth again. Dorian simply said, they won't. Linares trained a new generation of warriors. His students never asked about the war. They learned not from stories, but his silence.